Morning, everybody.
Morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Morning, everyone.
How's it, guys?
Morning, Brendan.
Jeez, I'm glad I got my microphone to work today. I've been struggling the last little while. I've been fiddling with settings and all sorts of things. So happy to be here.
I think it's the first time we've actually seen and heard you properly.
Yeah. To prove that I am a real person and not a robot.
You never know these days. Okay. How's Cape Town, Cindy?
It's good. It's kind of weird weather. Rainy, not cold. Quite odd for this time of the year, but it's good. But
Okay.
windy. And your side?
Yeah, kind of the same. Also a little breezy. Yeah, but not too bad.
Yeah.
Heading over to Cape Town this weekend, so hopefully the weather stays, well, actually Swellendam, so.
Oh, okay, nice. Yeah.
Morning,
Good
Marguerite.
morning, DC.
Morning, everyone.
Morning.
Yeah, John, I am.
Ah, nice. Enjoy.
Yeah, we're going to try.
Wow.
One of the most traumatic days of my life.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been sick for 2 weeks, so training hasn't exactly been great, but we'll be
Cool.
fine.
Well, good luck.
Yeah. Morning, Simon.
Morning, hi Dirk. Hi, everyone.
Who in the group is new? Yeah, I know Mary. I think is this your first or your second time on the session with us?
I did. Yeah, it's my second time.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I'm on my phone and I can't seem to get it on my laptop. And the sound is terrible. But yeah, thanks. Thanks for letting me join.
Good. Jono, you got your hand up already?
No, I'm just, I'm new here. It's the first time I've been here.
Waving.
Are you waving? Okay.
Sure.
Good morning, everyone.
Yeah. Morning, Dylan. How's Joburg?
Always good. It's getting very hot, getting unbearable. So ready to come back to the coast, Dirk.
Yeah, I was there last week for the FBI convention. I was very glad to get home.
Hopefully you missed the hail.
No, I was there on Monday night.
Okay, lucky.
I was inside, thank goodness, but
No, we had hail the size of golf balls last week. My friends' mirrors got knocked right off their car from the hail.
I lost a window. Yeah, I lost a window in my house. True
Wow.
story.
Sure.
okay, guys, I think just give it another minute or two. Everyone's almost in. Morning, Becky. Where are you dialing in from? I think your mic's not working, Becky.
I think I probably need to fine tune something. Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, now we can hear you.
Okay. No, I was saying I'm Pretoria this time around.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where do you actually live?
In Pretoria.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool. Good to see everybody.
Yeah. Okay, guys, I think let's get started. So I think this is going to be our last session for the year. This year's gone really quickly for me. I'm a lot older than most of you, so I think as we get older, time flies. Yeah, so and yeah, we're recording it for anyone who's not here. So what we're going to chat about today is something that actually came up. It's been touched on in the last few sessions, but I think in our last get together, it became quite apparent that it's something that we do need to speak about, and that is how to find clients. Yeah, and I mean, I feel quite strongly. I want to say on the outset that a lot of, when you guys are all entering this industry, it's quite different to when I did over 30 years ago. Purely from the point of view that for me, it was kind of trying to find a job. Then fortunately, it became something that I enjoyed. Whereas I think most of, especially the younger graduates on the call have chosen this as a career. And that's quite a different entry point. I think also, well, I know also that when I started, the industry was very different to what it is now. It also wasn't in many ways, but it was fundamentally different. For there was no doubt that when you came in, you were going to be selling, and that wasn't such a dirty word in those days. Probably shouldn't be even now. Whereas I think now, well, I know now that also a lot of the graduates who come in who have chosen this as a career and gone and studied it expect a different entry or onboarding process when they enter the industry. And I think what's quite real is that it's not really the case. And I think the problem is that a lot of the people out there and the corporates are talking about how to do this job really, really well, which is great. But there are very few people who speak about the fact that if we don't have clients, it doesn't matter how well we do our job, because if we can't get in front of people, we can't help them. We can't hone our skills, and above all, we can't make any money, which is ultimately what we're all here for. As much as we want to help people, if we're not going to be able to feed ourselves and our families, then there's a problem there. So yeah, so this is I think a discussion we need to have. Again, I don't know that there are going to be any silver bullets that are going to come out of this, but I think the best way to probably start is for me to ask some of those on the group who've been in the game for a bit longer, in the profession for a bit longer, just to chat about how they started, what the challenges were that they've encountered, and how they've managed to deal with them or not deal with them. Because I think if we start on that basis, we might just pick up a bit of a trend. And Simon turns on his camera just in time, because I was going to start with you, Simon, because I know Simon, you've I think your introduction to the industry was in a place where I think there were kind of some leads and then that. So yeah, can I just hand over to you and just if you could just share your experience with us. And then after Simon, I'm going to pick on Alex and Ben. And then after that, I'm going to pick on Dylan. I'm just looking at people. I'm going to pick on Ryan. Well, I'm not picking on you guys because we're sharing. And let's start with that. So just so that you guys can think about what you want to say. And Brendan, I would like to add you to that as well. Simon, let's go.
Sure. Morning, guys. Yeah, I'm going to be. I think when Dirk mentioned the topic, I'm very keen to hear everyone else's experience, because for me this was And I think for everyone, the hardest part of entering this industry, I had all the ideas of doing the job, but then you quickly found out there was no one to do the job for. So I started at Liberty Life, and I had the first month in training, fantastic, thought it was going to be great, loved the type of work and the learning, and then literally the first week, it didn't even take 2 days to sort of get that reality check of what was required of you. I'm sure everyone else can almost still feel that that feeling in their gut if they would have had the same thing. And for those who are there, I really do sort of feel the same pain, if I can put it that way. It never really goes away. So I'll tell you my story. My strength is certainly not to prospect or network. I think there are certain people who are fantastically good at it. It's an entrepreneurial skill, and while I think I have other elements of an entrepreneur, I certainly don't have the ability to charismatically start relationships, which some people are just born that way. And I had to work exceptionally hard at that, and I still do to this day, but it comes easier with time. And like Dirk said, unfortunately, no silver bullets. So we used to have sales meetings every single Friday, and it was literally the bane of my existence. Your numbers would be put on the board. I still remember the smell of the stairs walking into work every day, where you had to walk up to the second level. That was the feeling of sort of, just that nervousness of getting there, to think, how, what you need to do, but how do you do it? It was exceptionally difficult to find people, and obviously being young, you always kind of have that going against you in some way. It doesn't mean you can't be successful, but in general, your network and getting in front of people tends to be a lot harder. So I was around some of the guys in my team. Like they say, they take 20 of you, throw you against a wall, 2 people stick. There were 2 people that I can clearly remember being exceptionally good, but they had the gift of the gab, and they got themselves into buildings of corporates, receptionists, you name it, all the stuff you've probably read, dropping chocolates, all these sorts of things. That was their in, and they are still there today, doing well. And obviously, once you've built that network, it sort of takes off from there, and it sort of gets easier and easier with time. Mine was a serious struggle, and I went outside of my comfort zone many times to put myself in positions to try and pick up leads. I went to the CTICC used to have once a year baby expo. We were there trying to meet parents, get in front of people who just had kids. Speaking to small practices of financial services business to try and just let them consider you every time there was someone who maybe needed cover of some sorts. So I had tried everything, and I'll be honest with you, I think I did enough just to get by, just to really live, and that was 18 months. And I was ready to go after the first month, and I very quickly realized any sort of sideways move in the industry, you're doing the same thing somewhere else, are very tricky. So my silver bullet is not the traditional, it won't be helpful to many of you, but I knew my weakness was prospecting. So I had to find a business where that was not a problem, and I moved. After 18 months, I finally got that job, went to a company called Invest Online, who many of you won't know, but they started an online investment business, which, they've done incredibly well over time, but it suited me because every day you'd kind of walk in and you'd have 10 new leads on your desk to contact of people who were interested, to get some form of advice. And obviously your contact with them was very warm, in the sense it's not a cold call. They've asked to do something, they've asked to be contacted. And from there, it was sort of a hand-holding process where you could show your knowledge and get them from a lead to actually investing. So that was where one could flourish, because the hardest part was sort of taken care of. So I did that for the next 4 years, and then came back to Port Elizabeth, where I joined a family business, which was really established. And again, this doesn't necessarily help those who are starting with no clients. But what I focused on when I got here was there was existing clients, both on short-term insurance side as well as my father-in-law's long-standing life clients. And just so you are aware, my father-in-law is a driver. So he said, listen, while you are under this umbrella and you've got the opportunity, you've also got to see it as setting up your own business within a business, which is absolutely 100% fair. But I used, the fact that they had existing relationships to feed off. So I think if my 2 cents would just be for those who don't have existing clients, I'm not saying prospect your friends, but make sure your friends know you're passionate about what you do. Get in front of them so they understand, that you are there for the long haul. Maybe give an illustration of, the sort of stuff that you actually produce for clients. I think a lot of people don't really understand what you're doing. And if they understand that, they'll be able to push you on to something else. And then I wouldn't just leave it at that. I'd continuously sort of remind them, because everyone forgets you are not their priority. You need to be top of mind for them to always think of you, because they will have people in their sphere who talk to them about something. And if they can send you on, you've got to do that. And then obviously just try and get literally in front of people all the time, whether it's to just let them know or prospect themselves. You just have to continuously, be talking about what you're doing and be in the face of people who can at least push you on. So I did that within this business. I went to as many of the short-term clients of ours who were not live clients, and then obviously servicing the existing live clients. And from that, just from meeting you and knowing that you were there, you were present, answering mails and all these sorts of things, people would start to come. And it does take time. But sitting 7 years down the line, there are lots of people coming to us, and I think you eventually get to a point where you don't necessarily prospect yourself. But in my instance, I still am always looking out for opportunities. Yeah, so a bit of a long way around, but every interaction you have, don't discount how important that is. That can come back to you. I know the frustration, the thing is that you don't always see it immediately. But in 3 months' time, something comes back. 6 months' time, a year down the line, you get leads when you need it the most. But because of work that you've kind of put in, possibly many months ago. So, yeah, I would just say continuous habits of doing the same thing, of informing people, of what you do and where you can help them, on top of trying to get yourself in front of people that are, that you could maybe do something in the more shorter term for.
Thanks, Simon. That's great. And I really like what you say at the end there about nothing that you do is not worth it. I think everything is a learning curve. For you, those really hard, I mean, when you think back and you can remember the smell and the taste and the feeling of those sales meetings and that, I mean, what about that do you think has changed the way that you are today? I mean, because we, when we're going through these difficult times, it's difficult to understand or believe that this is going to benefit you down the line. But yeah, are there any things that stand out for you that kind of have affected the way that you operate at work now?
Yeah, so I think I'm 14 years in the industry now, and those 18 months were by far the most important, I think, of my whole life, especially obviously work-wise. So, I often, when one listens to podcasts, often you hear people's stories of very successful people starting good companies or whatever it is, whoever the person is, and often they refer back to like being a waiter or waitress at a restaurant, and how those core skills, when they hadn't ever worked before, of just interacting with people, have at the time when they went out their comfort zone, have come up throughout the rest of their life. And for me, it was a very similar experience with Liberty, from just picking up a phone, calling someone, making the mistakes, saying the wrong thing, being nervous, not speaking with enough conviction. For me, I am an introvert. I know most people on the call don't know me, so but I do like to chat and interact with people. But to put yourself out there, for example, to a stranger, it comes naturally to some and maybe not so naturally to others. For me, to learn just those skills of persistence, to keep going, to be positive, to learn, that even when you're potentially hating what you do, there is a bigger purpose of that. And for me, those 18 months of going through really, really a tough time, struggling, have almost given that thicker skin needed for other interactions that I've had throughout my career. So whether it's an unhappy client that is not for justified reason, and sometimes for justified reason, how do you deal with it? You know, there's just, it's like invaluable skills that you build in those very difficult times. And then there will be other various versions of difficult times later on in your career, and you often pull from those sort of early days of how you then go and deal with it and bounce back, whether it's, you know, good months to bad months, you know, that sort of thing. It's constantly ongoing. So there are just so many things to mention. Hey, Dirk, how to interact with people, how to get yourself out there. Again, you know, going out your comfort zone, not seeing anything as a waste of time. So, and I don't mean silly things, but I mean stuff that you initially think didn't add value or didn't come off, it wasn't a success or whatever, it comes back somewhere else. So persistence is just the big thing, and everyone I think can agree in this industry, you need persistence. And yeah, I think often, I know you can feel very desperate. So one of the big things is, you know, don't chase after people. That also chases them away. I'm not talking about that sort of level of persistence. I'm rather meaning sort of keep trying, and move on. You know, when you know something's not going to work out, move on and keep going. So yeah, I've for this group, as long as I've been part of it, I hear the stories that resonate with me massively. And I've said it constantly. It's just to people who battling in the early days. It's the hardest 3 to possibly 5 years is to get going. No one necessarily had it easy. Not if you want the success that comes with being independent or on your own or whatever later down the line. And if you cannot do that, and you need that sort of experience, for me, I had to make the drastic call of stripping away something that was literally debilitating. I could not get enough people to sustain, so I had to make another plan. And for me, that was prioritizing trying to get into a job where that was taken away, for example, with leads or whatever. And unfortunately, the reality is very few businesses necessarily give you those leads. Otherwise, everyone would be joining that. So it is tough, and I understand that. But there is light at the end of the tunnel. I think a lot of the people that I've heard speak on this group and whatever are the characters that are positive. So although it's tough, you kind of keep pushing on, and you will always require that, whether it's dealing with, you know, staff who are also going through stuff in your office, or dealing with your clients. So yeah, I'm still obviously, I'll be forever learning, but those core little learning curves early in my career are the things that have contributed actually the most to you know where we sit now.
Thank you, Simon. Thanks so much for your honesty. Alex.
Morning, Ron. Sorry, I missed the first part of the meeting, but I think I get the gist of what Simon was saying. And, you know, Simon and I have actually spoke quite a bit about it, about our first introduction to the industry. You know, when I started working, I was fresh out of varsity. I was 22, 23, and I was working at a smaller corporate. And like Simon, every Monday morning we would have a sales meeting. And in front of the whole office, they would put your Excel spreadsheet on the board and say, okay, Alex, your target for the week is you have to sign 1.5 million. Yeah, good luck out there. And at the end of the week on a Friday, we'd have the second sales meeting of the week. And your manager would say, okay, well, you said you're going to do 1.5 million this week. How much did you actually end up signing? And it's kind of awkward when you're a 22-year-old and you don't even know what a unit trust is to, you know, tell them that you haven't really signed anything. And it's a difficult lesson to learn, because at varsity, I always found that during the lectures and stuff and the tests and exams, it was always a case of Mr. X client has so much money, and Mrs. X has this amount of money, do an estate plan for them. Until you get to the real world and you realize that Mr. and Mrs. X don't just happen to appear. you have to go and find them. So that for me was the biggest wake-up call. And like Simon, also incredibly introverted, not a fan of networking events and stuff like that. So it was a push to get out of the comfort zone initially, and also with the stigma of being, I know this is quite a young group, that stigma of, you go to these events and 99% are grey-haired men in their late 70s. And then you there as a 23, 24-year-old, not really, sure where you fit in. So it is tough to start. But as Simon says, I feel like I'm going to just repeat what he said, that as time goes on and the more you grow in confidence, the easier it becomes to be able to have those conversations. And I think the stigma of being a young person in the industry, you realize, older clients actually don't really care. If you know what you're talking about and you're confident in your abilities and you surround yourself with a good team, people will be happy to work with you. And that's a lesson that, it's been a tough one to have to learn over the years, but I'm glad that, I have learned it. And it's just, at the end of the day, it is a confidence thing. So yeah, I don't know. Sorry, Dirk, I don't know what the pretext for the conversation was, but I was just going on something you were saying there.
Yeah, no, Alex was late because he was combing his moustache in the bathroom. It's November. No, Alex, it was just really, sharing the difficulties when we started in the industry. So thanks. I know your story. Ben, you're next, buddy.
Yeah, so I think we're all very, very similar. Simon's story resonates with us and Alex's, and so mine was also quite similar. I started off while I was studying. I was doing my postgrad, and I did it over 2 years. So after I completed 1 year, I managed to get a job with a company, and they did a lot of work with medical students. So my introduction was sign here, press hard, and 3, 2, 1. 3 mil life cover, 2 disability, 1 mil critical illness. So that was my introduction to financial planning. But then we started doing the studying, and you learn about a needs analysis and an F&A, and you sort of see what you're doing. You're just saying sign here and press hard, and you're learning it. You become very conflicted. And so yeah, I moved on from there. But again, I can have great training, but again, the big problem is having clients. And so after I got I passed my board exam for my CFP. Obviously, updated LinkedIn and all that kind of stuff. And one day I got a phone call out the blue from one of the big banks, and they said they'd like to have coffee. So I was like, oh, that'll be nice to have coffee. And then I went to go have coffee, and I got interrogated about what was my AUM and what is this and what is that. And I realized coffee meant it's a job interview. It's not actually this coffee. But at the end of it, they did offer me a job, and I thought, well, in the bank is going to be a great opportunity to have more clients across your path. So in some ways, yes, that is true. And like Simon said, you learn what to say and not what to say, and you make a few mistakes, and you drive hundreds of kilometers to go see everybody, and you have all these meetings that you've wasted your time with, and you think, geez, what a waste of a day. But you learn a lot of lessons along the way. But yes, again, it was all about the sales targets. It came to a stage where I had to do 20 phone calls a day, 100 in a week, and I had to send in call sheets, and you had to do this, and I had to send screenshots of my diary, and I said, oh, you had a meeting with Dylan. What was that about? And then you say, oh, it was to discuss something. Oh, if it wasn't income generating, then what was the point of having the meeting? And it was very, very hectic. I used to get super nauseous every week just knowing that I was going to get called to ask what's my pipeline, what's happening, what's going on. I was very conflicted because I was trying to do the right thing for clients. I'd learned everything, what we'd learned in the book, but then it's just all, sales on the other side. And I never forget sitting with my manager the one time, and she took a piece of paper and she said, come I kept telling her I was trying, I'm trying this, I'm trying that, I'm trying this. So she took a piece of paper and she said, try throw it on the floor. And so she said, so if I let go, she says, well, you did let go. You did throw it on the floor. And if I didn't, she says, well, you're not doing it. So she said, try and do it. And it's obviously impossible to try and throw a paper on the floor, you know? And so the whole point was that they were just, didn't want to hear any excuses. They just wanted sales and numbers, and it didn't matter how you got there. So yeah, that was I ended up leaving there because I couldn't. Yeah, I floated around a bit, so did a bit of this and a bit of that. Still within the industry, tried a few different things, and then eventually I ended up at client care, and I think that's what's really taken my career on a different trajectory. You know, just we're doing things completely different, doing things the right way, but also having the safety to do it and the teamwork to do it in. And I think I've also learned, I mean, I do love the financial planning, but I've also grown in other areas as well. And we always talk about our strengths and our weaknesses. And, you know, some of my strengths have been more on operational sides, so doing a lot more of that of running the business and having to step back from maybe seeing some clients and things. Sometimes it can be difficult, but sometimes, you know, you're working towards a better, the bigger picture and the whole picture. And so what I've also realized in this journey is that yes, in financial planning, there's so many different avenues, you know, even in bigger businesses, there could be an operations manager, there's compliance, there's, you know, financial planning, obviously, but there's also so many different avenues that you can actually go into in financial planning. It's not just being an advisor. So yeah, that's kind of just been my journey in a short.
Thanks, Ben. Thanks, man. I'm going to try and throw a paper on the ground just now. Who is next? I mentioned names. Who's ready to go next? Dylan, go for it, bud.
I've got new headphones. Can you hear me clearly? It's fine. Okay, perfect. I think my journey was maybe quite a bit different to most of the people on the call. So I finished high school and went to university and studied chartered accounting in an undergrad, and I finished that. It didn't interest me whatsoever. I had 3 SEMAs in my family, management accountants, so I thought maybe I'll give that a shot, and I did a postgrad as a management accountant, and I got an offer to work at PwC, and I just panicked. I knew it wasn't for me. I ended up going to Asia and working in Asia as a teacher for 2 years to pay off my student loan. And I managed to save a bit of money and realized it was time to be an adult and maybe try and invest some money. So I met in this little dingy coffee shop in Ho Chi Minh City with an advisor from the UK. And he started talking to me around financial planning. And I was so overwhelmed because I just realized that that's what I needed to do. I had no clue how to be one or what they earned or what they did really, but I knew I needed to do the job. So I ended up coming back to South Africa, and I think I'm pretty decent at networking. I don't really struggle with that at all, to be honest. But what I ended up doing was actually approaching my stepdad's financial plan at the time in PE. It took me about 3 months to convince him to hire me. So I came in as like, let's say, an assistant, or I was doing part admin, part advice. So in the first, I'd say 6 months, I spent every day annoying everyone in the office, asking a billion questions. I sat in on meetings with some big clients as well. And I didn't really focus on getting clients at all. It was more just learning, because I very quickly realized, and something that someone said to me when I just started was, you have to be confident in your approach. And I didn't quite understand what that meant until I stood in front of a client and was shaking, trying to read an FNA, because I had no idea what I was talking about. So I felt like I spent my first probably year just purely building up confidence to the point where I felt like I could identify as a 60-year-old man, because I think the issue we sit with in our industry is, if you want to pick up decent clients, you have to, 1, know what you're talking about, and 2, be confident enough to approach them and have the right conversation. So I felt like I spent most of my time just kind of working on that to the point where now I'm pretty much comfortable chatting to anyone. And at the moment, I would say the strategy when it comes to picking up clients is one, just working on personal networks. I've made quite a few new friends in Joburg, and they're all very familiar with what I do. And secondly is building presentations that I use to approach corporates. So strategies on ways of getting into corporates and doing presentations to staff members and lining up appointments with various staff members. So that's the biggest way that I approach it at the moment. But for me, if I speak to anyone who joins the industry now, I always say you have to be so confident in whatever you're saying, whenever you say it, because people can sniff out when you are talking nonsense or when you're unsure of yourself, and you lose all credibility immediately. And unfortunately, there are people, and I've seen them in Joburg, who will come and put their Porsche keys down on the table as they sit down. They'll tell you about how great they are and how well their clients are doing. They don't really know what they're doing, but they're picking up amazing clients. And it speaks again to having that confidence. So I feel like it's twofold. It's one, having expertise, and two, having the confidence to back it up as well. Because if you know what you're talking about, but you're too scared to talk to anyone, you're never going to get anywhere, I guess. Kind of my view on it.
Great, Dylan. Thanks. Yeah, I think the frustration is we all know that a lot of people out there who the industry deems as being great and successful don't do a great job. That's just the way it is, unfortunately. All right, who's next?
I can go, Dirk.
Go, Ryan. Thanks. Yep.
Can you guys hear me clearly?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so I'll start with the beginning of my story. I think Brendan knows my story well. We work together. But yeah, so when I was at varsity, I was studying a BCom investment management degree, and I was in between doing my honors in that or doing a postgraduate diploma in financial planning. And I decided to go for the postgrad. So whilst at varsity, I stayed in a hostel, but I wore a suit like this every day walking out of that residence. So you can just imagine guys in their underwear, catering from the previous night, and I'm walking out with a suit. So I got mocked quite a lot, but that was my life, because I got a job opportunity at Nedbank to work as a financial planner's assistant. So I worked there, just doing her admin, and then in the evenings I would study for my postgraduate, and I completed that in a space of 1 year, whilst also working there. And then obviously being in the bank and getting exposure among the managers, one of the managers approached me and decided to employ me as a financial planner. And I worked in different regions within the Free State as a financial planner at different branches. And I also thought to myself, this is a nice way to get clients, because the banks have lots of clients, and surely the leads should flow quite well to my side. However, it did prove very difficult, just merely because, from theoretical to practical, it's a big jump. I think Alex also mentioned, you learn in all these case studies about Pete and John, but when you see them in real life, it's a different approach. And I quickly started to realize as well that to make it in this industry, if I really wanted to, would be something that I would have to approach with more long-term strategic mindset. And I think that became more prominent for me when I started to realize that what happened was that I was earning commissions, but as it goes in the bank, some clients cancel their policies, and then you have these clawbacks. And I think there was 2 or 3 months in a row where I wasn't earning any money, and I was living off a credit card, asking my mom for money. It just was a really bad situation. So I realized for myself, well, I have the qualifications, I have somewhat of experience. Maybe I should look for in the job market for something more suitable to meet my needs. So I looked for a position of a paraplanner, and I found one in a firm called Verso Wealth. That's where myself and Brendan work together as colleagues. And that was great, you know, for the 4.5 years that I was there. I was first of all, I was earning a salary, so that helped. Second of all, the culture within the firm was to rope you in to every client meeting possible so that you could learn, so that you could also interact and gain confidence. It wasn't that you were just sitting there and not saying anything, but if you felt you had something to say or some value to add to the meeting, you know, the opportunity was there to speak. And eventually, you know, clients were passed your way as well from the senior advisors. And I gained a lot of experience and a lot of skills from just being out there and putting yourself out there. And I won't say I have a book and I've established myself. I'm still, like many of you on this call, building towards that. But all these past 6 years of those experiences have really helped a lot and really helped my confidence as well. And I think from a networking perspective, if my journey is anything to go by, I would say, you know, it's good to have structure in your day. I got this tip from Kobus Klein actually, whereby, you know, it's important to have set appointments in your diary. So if you look at your calendar, maybe you block out 10 appointments throughout the work week, and then try to fill those 10 appointments with a meeting. Now, it doesn't always have to be a client meeting or prospective client meeting. It could be just asking your colleague, hey, can I sit in with you on your client meeting? Would you have any client meetings? Can I sit in? I just want to learn or just observe. I think the important principle there is that through activity, not only will business come, but also experience, learning new skills and learning new things from other people as well. So I think what I learned from that is sitting around and waiting for things to happen isn't going to change anything. And then also, I think everybody mentioned the tips that I would have also mentioned, but I've also recently approached certain firms that I believe have clients who need financial planning, and set agreements with them in place to say, well, if you ever have such a client that has financial planning needs, you know, we'd appreciate a referral, and vice versa. If we have clients that we feel need your services, we'll refer you to them. And we have quarterly meetings with these firms and give them trainings. So it's a very formalized and professional agreement that we have in place. In actual fact, I'm going to go meet one of them today just to check in, because one of the things they mentioned was that their clients need, you know, last will and testaments and estate planning. So bringing in a colleague today to have a meeting to discuss how we can help their client base with things like this. So yeah, I think to conclude, it's because the topic today is prospecting. Yeah, just making sure you have some activity in your diary booked. So yeah, that's all from my side, Dick.
Ryan, thanks very much. Brendan, if you can go next, and then Yondela, I hope you got a good signal if you can chat to us afterwards. Thanks.
So, can everybody hear me? Sorry, I've been having some mic issues recently. Cool, good. Yeah, I've just been scribbling down a few ideas while I've been sitting here. Guys, I don't want to try and reinvent the wheel. But just, so I'm a very introverted person, and I don't really like talking about myself, and I don't like being in front of crowds and cameras and that sort of thing. So that's one thing that's been a really big learning experience for me about being a planner or an advisor, is that the confidence, like, you know, Dylan talked about the confidence that you need when you're in front of people, and that's been a big learning experience for me. The one thing I'd like to add, so I look, I'm a terrible, I don't like networking, and I always kind of feel disingenuous. I don't feel genuine when I do it. I just don't feel comfortable. So what I've been, but I do make friends well. So just by being yourself, I found that I can make friends quite easily. And sometimes what happens is, so I won't go into a like a new friendship with any kind of agenda or trying to, I'll literally just, if someone's having lunch, I'll say, hey, can I come sit with you? We can have lunch and chat. And literally every networking opportunity, every opportunity in my career has come from my relationships that I've been able to build through those friendships in a very organic way, which has been great. So, Ryan spoke about, so I was at Versa Wealth when Ryan joined us. I'd been there for about a year by the time Ryan arrived, and the Versa Group is a diversified financial services group, and so there are a number of things that they do. Medical aid, the biggest business is employee benefits, so they have a big employee benefits book. So, and we shared an office with the consultants, so the employee benefits consultants, and by just being friendly and having lunch and having a coffee here and there and that sort of thing. I mean, some of them became my clients. So some of the consultants actually became my clients after a while, after a year or two, and then they started taking me with them to go see their big corporate clients. So then I got the opportunity, here's me who's terrified of public speaking in front of big employers and wine farm. This is in the Western Cape, so it's wine farms, and it was Paul Boys High School, and big corporates. And it was terrifying, and I hated it, but it was good because you get out there and you build your confidence by doing something. You don't build your confidence by planning and thinking about and researching. You build your confidence by getting out there and putting yourself out there. And you're going to make I've made tons of mistakes. So that's the one thing, is just I prefer to make friends, and I've gotten a lot of value from that. Literally every job I've had a few now, and every job I've had has been as a result of a friendship. Literally, guys, I'm just sitting having lunch with every once in a while, and then one day they say, hey, we have this opportunity, do you want to come over? Or we have this client, we have a friend who could use some help with some advice, would you be able to help them? And I say, sure, cool, great. And in terms of content, so in terms of content creation, it seems like a lot of guys are doing videos and podcasts and articles and that sort of thing. And I try to focus on educational content. So it's kind of, that's what I'm passionate about. I've always been involved in some kind of tutoring or education, or giving some kind of classes or workshops. So that's come. I tried to embrace the thing that came most naturally to me. So that's answering kind of people's questions. That's kind of writing about an aspect of personal finance or financial planning that people are interested in, or trying at least. And sometimes it feels like that you're just not getting anywhere, and there's nothing really that comes of it. But then the other day I had a meeting with a lady. I had a kind of an hourly consultation, and she came in and she had read almost everything I had written, which was amazing. So she's talking to me about articles and stuff I've been featured in and written 5 years ago, which took me aback. So that's the thing, is that the more content you create, it creates almost like a public awareness of who you are, and it also shows that we talk about you talk about confidence as to who you are, what you do, what you know. I think contributing to articles, doing videos, podcasts, that sort of thing, it creates almost like a public trust and confidence in what you do. And people can, if they're going to come meet with you, they can actually just do a quick Google. Let's say Brendan Dunn, and then my LinkedIn profile pops up, and there's a whole bunch of content there, and then there's a few other articles, and they just mustn't go find my SABC interview, because that was terrible. But there's I've been fortunate to be on a couple of community radio stations, even though I ooh and ah and and but they some of them asked me back, which was lekker. What else? Oh, just one thing about, so we talked about the 5 or 10 years, the kind of how long that this takes time. My experience was I started as a paraplanner. I became a planner. after about 2 years, and then battled, just had completely battled for about a year. And then I was fortunate enough to, one of our colleagues was leaving South Africa. He was immigrating, and he had an established book in Johannesburg. We live in Cape Town at the time, and so got the opportunity to move up to Joburg and to take over an established book of business. But the difficulty was, when I moved up, they said to me, "Look, we just be careful. We don't want you to lose. Just please don't lose clients." So went up, and in the first month, I think I lost. It must have been, Brian, I don't know if you can remember how many. I think it was 6 or 10. It was a percentage of the book, like in terms of numbers, 6 or 10 clients, and man, like I was absolutely beside myself. And I was working with Warren Ingram at the time, and he called me in and he said, "Listen, I fully expected you to lose clients, like, because you are not your predecessor. You are not Christian. You don't look like Christian. You don't sound like Christian, and they're going to be some clients on the book who had itchy feet anyway. So when this transition happened, regardless of how well, how much effort you put in and the kind of work you're doing for them, they already got one foot out the door, but for those clients that are like, you need to focus on those clients that are committed and that are staying, and and he was right. And I was able to as well. There were a couple of good stories there. I was able to save some relationships that were kind of, by making an effort, I was able to get in front of some people that, were probably on their way out in any case. They're kind of non-communicative, and we try to get in touch with them, but through sheer persistence, I managed to get in front of them, and we hit it off. So I was able to save some relationships, and then eventually, after a couple of years, I kind of reached a point where things just started rolling, and new clients are coming in, and you're getting some referrals, and you might get like a little consultation, which then rolls into something else, which rolls into something else. So things do start happening, and that took about 5 years. So from beginning to there, I then took a brief holiday and worked as an asset manager for 2 years, but now I'm back where I missed the clients, I missed the relationships. So I'm back in advice now. Thankfully, I've been given a really nice base of clients to start from now. But again, like it's the same thing. It's wanting to, you guys have said that you need to get people through the door. You need to be in front of people. You need to be building relationships, get new clients. I think it's a constant thing. But let me just see if there's anything else here that I've scribbled down that I want to mention. Yeah, I'm just something I'm also like, sometimes you struggle. I still struggle sometimes with being ghosted. Like, you'll engage with someone, like it goes really well, you're like, cool, let's do some things, and they just never really take up, or no one's really, they're just not interested. So that's something I'm still trying to work out. It's being ghosted. But yeah, that's everything I've got, guys. Thanks.
Brendan, thanks for sharing that with us. I think what's quite apparent before we go to Yandela, that everyone is quite different, and when we think about being salesy or marketing or entrepreneurial, we kind of think of, if any of you watched the FBI convention, there was the Greek guy Panos who was just on another level. I don't know what he was smoking, but it was really good stuff. But I mean, he's your perfect example of a guy who's just absolutely out there in your face, but at least he called himself an insurance salesman, which is really what he is. But I think, Brendan, what your story tells is that eventually over time, when you get the kind of clients that resonate with you and you resonate with them, eventually they bring people like themselves. So that kind of happens, but it does take time. So thanks very much. Yandela, are you able to share with us, please?
Yes. So I'm having a difficult time. Oh man, it's just tough, eh? It sounds like everyone has had a tough time, and And what's nice with everyone is like, you know, it took me 7 years or 8 years or whatever. I'm still in that phase where just getting a client to sit in front of me is a nightmare. Like, I can't get people to sit in front of me. I can't find them. But what I don't lack though is I don't lack any confidence. I don't lack an ability to speak in front of people. I feel very confident. I'm not scared of anyone. I don't think people bite. I actually think people are very nice. But it's just that there's just too many people in the way of the right information. So the more I'm learning, I'm realizing that every financial mistake that people make is an information mistake. It's not that they want to make these mistakes. And so every time now I engage with like HR, you know, I'm finding that if I lead with that type of conversation and talking about that every mistake that people make is an information mistake, and the only thing I want to provide is information, but people are always worried. They feel like there's an agenda, you know, because now the minute I say I'm from Sanlam, you know, I'm a financial advisor, you know, there's a lot of, you know, there's this big wall that comes up. And so it's you know, there's just so much of a trust deficit in South Africa that I'm just really finding it difficult. And now, I mean, so many Sanlam people have gone to places and they've given people really bad service. And so regardless of how good I think I am, you know, people are still very abrasive. So I think the only thing I'm doing now is I'm literally, I've gone to almost every manufacturing plant in PE. I've gone to manufacturing plants in East London. Any company I see, I go to them and then I say, hey, you know, would like to speak to someone in HR, and this is my value proposition. I offer a premium service, and this is the type of audience I'd like to speak to. If you're keen, please let me know. And sometimes people allow me to speak. Many times people say no. So I'm not scared of rejection anymore. I think that used to be my biggest fear. But I'm learning to be patient with people as well. When people say no, it doesn't mean no. It just means maybe it's not the right time now. The use of social media as well is actually interesting. I've got an Instagram page. So I realized LinkedIn is very useless. LinkedIn is the most useless platform on earth because only the people I speak to on LinkedIn are all financial advisors. And I'm thinking to myself, like, it's crazy. I write these things and everyone who likes is another advisor. So I'm trying to do like stuff on Instagram, but not the problem with Instagram. It's like a gallery of what life should be, and it's so fake. And then TikTok, it's about dancing. So the conversations we want to have with people are so serious, but people they go to social media to run away from the serious. So there's a big disconnect between what it is that we share and what it is we do. So yeah, I'm having a really like a mind, you know, struggle. And then the podcasts are too long. People don't want to spend 45 minutes listening to a podcast. So, I mean, a nice podcast would be like maybe 10 minutes or even 5 minutes. So, and it's hard to get the right type of content. Facebook, people are selling things on Facebook. So I'm trying to use, you know, social media correctly, but I just don't know how to because the attention span of people. Yeah, so I don't know, Dirk, man. I'm just losing my mind actually. And so that's why I was super interested. Like I actually dropped a meeting for this so that I can hear what other people are struggling with. And it seems like we're all, I don't know why we don't hang ourselves, but clearly, you know, we're doing something right. So that's my 2 cents.
Thanks, Shondela, and thanks for being so honest. And yeah, I think I feel you, and I'm sure many of us feel you. And I think the reason I wanted to run it in this format is just because, you know, this is the reality. And as I started off the session by saying that, unfortunately, and I've said this before, there are too many people, especially on LinkedIn, who are telling us how to do what we do and the ideal way and how to do brilliant at what we do, but without clients, it's all meaningless. And in many cases, these people have never done it themselves. So I'm not saying don't listen to them, but I'm saying, you know, rather listen to people who are in the trenches with you. Sorry, Dylan, you want to say something quick?
Yeah, just a comment on what Yondela was saying now. It's something I'm currently looking into. So I'm going to look at getting a bit of equipment to start off on social media. But I think the worry is I'm not sure how to approach it, because all about the type of content you're putting out. I've started to try and look at it more objectively and see what other people are putting out and saying, oh, wow, some people actually, let's say, succeeding. I'm seeing some really cringy people who are doing fairly well on social media, and it kind of shocks me. And then I'm seeing other people who are putting out some great content, but maybe it's not catching the right audiences, and I'm not too sure why. I'm almost starting to think that the content needs to be relatable to the absolute layman, one, and two, it needs to be really high quality. So perhaps having reels with really high quality sound as well as picture that's quite hard hitting in a short amount of time. I'm trying to navigate this as, I want to try get into it from next year and build a nice online presence.
Great, thanks, Dylan. Just on that, I've got some hands up, which is great. Those of you who know Tian Hasselman, he's head of advice for On Mutual Wealth. Tian's got a TikTok page because he started it because he went to see a client with an advisor, and the daughter told him that she was earning, I think, 80 grand a month on her TikTok, and he eventually got into it, and he's having varied levels of success, but there's a very clear formula as to how that, you know, I don't know how to use TikTok. Maybe I should, but I think maybe what I can do, because I know that he will, I can maybe ask Tian to get onto a session with us in the new year and just share his experience with us, which I think would be probably helpful. Simon, I see your hand up first.
Yeah, I just wanted to give my 2 cents on the social media side. I think most of you, if you're running by yourselves, it's very tricky because it's time consuming. It's a skill, how to put out content, what to say. So if you can kind of outsource that. And the reason I say that is we went through a process of getting someone else to do it so that there is something to see. If you do get someone who wants to check you out or check out your company or your page or whatever, that there's something there to back it up. But I don't know if there's anyone else who's had major success out of it. I just found that over time, having put in effort there, I've had more success making a connection with an actual, person rather than putting the content out. Because often people like the content, but they don't always necessarily engage or reach out. There's so much content out there. What makes you different to someone else that they're gonna jump out at you versus someone else? And I'm not saying it doesn't work, not at all, but probably the most authentic stuff is usually the stuff that works when someone can see you talking or connects with you or something you've said or whatever. So that was my sort of experience, that I had more success with the existing people you look after. So you look after those people well, they are your biggest advocates. They will go and push you on to someone else. And rather, I think Dylan mentioned it, Yondela also mentioned it, getting in front of people when you get yourself into a business, which is hard enough as it is, and then you talk, you're giving at least your audience, you're having a bigger audience than just one person you've met at a coffee shop. Say you've met with 20, great, maybe 3 of those people will actually reach out. That's awesome because you're putting yourself out there, giving yourself more of a chance. But again, every time I've had meaningful meetings where you help someone, that is so powerful to go on to someone else. So the more conversations you can have there. And I just wanted to add, I'll refer back to Invest Online. What made them so successful, other than obviously they generated a lot of traffic to their website, but the sort of tipping point of what turned a viewer on their website into a lead was giving them something for free. And I don't know if any of you got reached out to the other day by Patrick Kearns. Did anyone get the LinkedIn message? So, you know, how many surveys one gets. I follow Patrick, I read his stuff. Obviously, he's a very well-known journalist, but very cleverly, I think he knew people don't necessarily do things unless they get something back for it. So he mentioned in his message out on LinkedIn, you know, we'll give you a free article. And I thought immediately, it just tweaked my brain. I thought that's so smart, because obviously people will be far more likely to complete you know, the survey when they're getting something in return. And at Invest Online, that tipping point was a risk profile. Now, the risk profile, we all know, is not, it doesn't determine anything. It's helpful, it's a guide, but what is important is that people wanted to find out what type of investor they were. It was something they were going to get first. And in return, what did we get? We got their details as a lead to actually contact them to make that first. All you ever need is that first chance to put yourself in front of someone with some formal level of trust that's been built. They've been given this risk profile, you gave them something, that was the lead. So the social media stuff, I don't know, again, maybe someone else can tell me stories of success. I'd love to hear it as well, because obviously we all learn and maybe we do things wrong, but social media was giving stuff out and hoping that people would come to you, but it never really materialized for myself. So yeah, that was just my 2 cents.
Great, thanks, Simon. Peter?
Hello, everyone. I hope you are well. So I'm just going to give you a quick backstory as how I joined the industry, and then I'll speak about content. So I'm originally a veterinarian that recently joined the financial industry this year. I'm not going to linger too much on why I decided to switch careers, but essentially, to sum it up, I experienced the lack of proper financial planning as a client, as a vet. Started educating myself because school and university didn't teach us those things. And then I realized what I didn't know, many of my colleagues didn't know. And so I started creating videos on YouTube. I started the 1st of January 2021. And it's kind of just been as and when I had an idea of something that I wanted to research, I made a video. And now today I've got about 15,000 subscribers and about 133 videos uploaded. So it's just that consistency and time. And now joining the industry and now only recently making a video about me being an advisor, I've already had a couple of leads trickle in from there onwards. So with content creation, the thing to remember is you don't have to be perfect. I definitely was not, even though I wish I was. I'm still not. Just get started consistently. Use your phone, record yourself. It's going to be awkward. You're going to look stupid, but that's fine. You need to start somewhere. Just like you've all shared your journey as a financial planner, it started out difficult, but just keep at it. It will build. I do think for my generation and essentially the future of South Africa, content is key. If you're going to want to attract that type of audience, you'll need to build up an online presence. I think Cobus Klein also focuses a lot on that, and I agree with that. Because if I were to go and visit any professional, I will search them online. So not only on Google, but Facebook, LinkedIn. So having that presence and just sharing free content without expecting anything in return, that is building up a trust factor. And now, for example, the clients that I get from my YouTube, they're already warm leads. They're ready to work together. I don't have to convince them of my value because I've been sharing free value for 3 years and continuously building up on that trust factor without me even, intentionally doing that. It's just me sharing knowledge. So I think to start off with, short form content is probably the easiest. 30-second TikToks or LinkedIn posts or Facebook. There are programs that you can automate, make one post and it can post on different platforms. And also, you don't have to start a YouTube channel, but maybe just a podcast, just audio. It's a lot easier to get started because you don't have to worry about video and lighting and all of that. And just start sharing. Yes, there will be no one that watches your videos in the beginning, but as you keep on going, in the long term, I'm sure it would be beneficial, and has been for me starting out. Definitely been a boost. Just getting a couple of clients in, and then from there onwards, you can build relationships and get referrals and all of that. But yeah, I just wanted to say that I'll definitely encourage that. And please don't try and be perfect. Please don't try and buy all the most expensive equipment. Start with your phone. You can always upgrade from there onwards, and just learn as you go. Spend maybe 2 to 3 hours a week on that. It will definitely pay off in the long run.
Peter, thank you so much for sharing. I know we knew, I don't know much about you, but that sounds fantastic. And yeah, I think your passion shines through. So thanks very much. Shannon.
Hi, Dirk. Thanks. Sorry, just a little bit conscious of where we are with time here. Dirk, just a suggestion. Maybe we should continue this discussion and let everybody just do some homework for next time. And we can all then comment on what our successes have been, because clearly we have had successes because we are still in this industry, and B, what our failures have been. And maybe we can share that, and then other people can say, right, if those were your failures, this is what you could change. And your successes maybe with somebody else's failures, and we can enhance on that. That's just a thought going forward. Because I think there's lots of valuable information that we can all share with each other on that.
Shannon,
that's
yeah.
number one.
Yeah, Shannon, I think that's a great idea. We can look at that. Maybe try and format it a bit better. Yeah.
And then just Peter, it's brilliant to hear how your success with your YouTube channel. What is your channel? If you could just share that with us.
Yeah, sure, Shannon. It's called Money Marks. So just money and then Marks, MARX. So yeah, you're more than welcome. Probably go look. The videos you'll see, my most recent videos are worlds apart from the initial ones. But probably just go watch my first video and you'll see how awkward I was, and probably still am. So it's all about the journey. It's not about the destination. And it's been years of refining and building onto that. But I'm more than happy to help out if any of you have any questions or just want some tips on just how to get started. You're more than welcome to reach out to me. I'm on the group on WhatsApp as well, so you'll find my number there. And I'll be happy to just give a help where I can. Just break that first barrier. That's the most difficult part. Just posting that first video.
Awesome. Yeah, just to share in terms of that, I had the opportunity to do a radio slot here on a local community radio station, and I did it for 8 months. And also, I mean, in the beginning, I was tongue-tied and I was absolute disaster in my mind. But yet I constantly had people coming up to me and saying how they enjoyed the show and how valuable they found the content. But with all of that, I only ended up getting one lead from it. So, I think it was Brendan who might have said that you've just got to keep on doing it and doing it and doing it, and eventually it gains traction. So, what might have been a failure for some people, the social media isn't working, maybe just to keep on working away at it, and eventually it will come to something. Thanks, Dirk.
Thanks, Shannon. Yeah, so I think definitely I'm thinking we should, because this, as I said, this group has really grown, which is wonderful. It just shows you how many people want to learn from each other and how many people are prepared to share, which is what we're about. And I think maybe next year we should maybe split the hour and a half up, maybe half an hour where people just introducing themselves and talking about who they are and their story shortly in that. So things that are coming through for me, I mean, I can tell you my story, but it's over 30 years. But I mean, things that I relate to is very much is the confidence thing. And I think those of us, or I suppose I'm not introvert, but those who think they are introverts, confidence doesn't mean being loud and out there. I think, and I really do believe that confidence comes from caring. This isn't about financial planning, this group. This is about lifestyle financial planning. For me, there's a profound difference. It's people who, we all need to feed our families, but we want to do it in a way that we sleep really well at night and that we add value to other people's lives. And I think, I've spoken about this before, that we really need to believe in the value of what we do. You know, even if we've only been in the industry for a short while, you know, the reality is we know more than most of the public out there. Okay, and if we care, then we're probably giving better advice than 85% of advisors out there. And you know, if that confidence, I really believe, comes from caring. You know, we can't determine how people react to the advice that we give or how we try and help them. You know, as I was saying with Brendan, you know, different advisors will resonate with different clients, and not everyone can be your client, and we just need to accept that. And I think was it someone also said, you know, if it's not happening now, maybe that person's not ready now. You know, we've got to understand that just because we're doing a good job and we want it to work, it's like any relationship. Both sides actually need and want to be ready for that relationship to work. Something that's very clear, and I've said it before, guys, and I don't say this to try and make anyone despondent. I'm just trying to be real. Like, I'm telling you, guys, this job's fucking hard. Okay, it really, really is tough, and don't let anyone tell you anything else. And it takes time, and it takes absolute perseverance. But the benefits are there in the long run. They are massive, and I'm not only talking. I'm always, especially not talking financial, because financial, as we know, success is relative to different clients. For advisors, it is relative as well, depending to how we want to live our lives, how hard we want to work, and the balance that we want to have in our lives. I also think that, especially for the younger advisors, when you're starting off, you know, there's so much noise out there about, you know, people who see the perfect advisor with 25 years experience. That's not you. Sales can be good. You know, every youngster out there needs income protector. You know, if you're not convinced of that, speak to me. I'll convince you. But everyone is so, you know, if when you meet someone and they're not getting the whole lifestyle thing, you know, they need income protection, give them income protection, charge a commission on it, and earn your money. And, you know, trust me, if you can't sleep at night, again, give me a call, because you're still doing a lot of good to those people. You can ask me. We've got clients who are claiming on those benefits. So, you know, sales can be a good thing. Don't feel dirty about that. And then the big thing is really that's come through is activity, guys. Sitting on the internet and Googling and looking and all this, you know, it takes hard work. When I started off, you know, we didn't have, the interweb wasn't a thing. You know, we had computers eventually. It was because we could do a quote on that. That's literally all you could do. We had a thing called the Yellow Pages, which is like a big yellow phone book. And you started at A, and I started off every night. I would drive to Utenake and Dispatch and literally cold call. And thank God I'd worked in London cold calling. You know, I could sell solar powers in winter in London. So I was pretty good at that. And that gave me the confidence to go and do that. But everyone that's shared has shared that they've had some form of difficulty. If you're not prepared to move out of your comfort zone, I will go ahead and say, if you're not prepared to move out of your comfort zone, it's not going to work. So just make peace with that. You know, we at the end of the year, New Year's resolutions don't always work, but if you need one, and that is to move out of your comfort zone, just do it. And you've got this group to support you. You know, if you go and you have a meeting and it's an absolute disaster, phone me, phone anyone in this group. You know, we're here to support each other as well. But the more you do that, the more you move out of your comfort zone. You know, if you say introverted and you have to try and be someone else, just try it. Just start somewhere. You know, you've got to start somewhere. But I can tell you that until you're prepared to do that, it's not going to happen for you. You know, and that could take a year, or it could take 10 years. But you've got to be prepared to do what most people aren't prepared to do. That's why, you know, one in 100 make it in this industry. So yeah, and then, you know, I'm not a big social media person because I'm obviously a bit older than most of you. But my version is, you know, I moved to St. Francis almost 3 years ago, and I started doing articles in like St. Francis Today. It's a little online paper that comes out a few times a week, and once a week I run 350 words. And what I do is because as a lot of you know, I love and I hate this industry. I hate all the greedy side, but I love the fact where we help people. So where we help people. So a lot of what I write is kind of just me. It's just like, it's not having a rant, but it's just me calling things as they are. And often what I'll do is I'll take an experience I've had with a client in the last week or so, and I'll obviously not mention who they are, but I'll kind of share what I've learned from that, because I'm learning all the time, and their situation and whatever. And after a few months, I started getting guys, because I play golf as well, because I live on a golf course and I'm older, so I can in the week. And they'd got to say, "Oh, I read your article," and was like, "Which one? That one or the one in the Chronicle, which comes out once a month?" And the fact is that it was just nice to know people are reading stuff. And yeah, I mean, 2.5 years in, we now are getting people that are walking into the office and saying, "Can I meet with you?" And so, I mean, I'm just going to be real, but I've had a guy walk into my office he's got 100 million rand. He hasn't got an advisor. Okay, I've got a guy I met yesterday who walked in there's a whole lot of personal issues, but he's built a massively successful business that imports stuff overseas and everything and all that. He's never worked with an advisor. He reads the articles and he likes the tone of the articles. Now, I'm not saying go and read the articles and be like Dirk. What I'm saying is be who you are. Because if you be real in anything that you write, in anything that you put out there, and even in your presentation. So we will use PowerPoint extensively in our onboarding process. But what we've done is we've taken it and we've kind of tailored it to us. So, there's Dirk, Ben, and Alex in our business who give advice, and each of us has kind of chosen the slides that we feel most comfortable with, that we're happy to elaborate more on, and we relate to. So you've got to make this real, and you can't be false, because people will smell that a mile away. And also, and I've said this before, you need to think about, before you go into a meeting, people can feel if you care. I mean, like we all care, but you got to really care. And the only way you can do that is to prepare yourself before you get into that meeting. Even if it's someone you've never met, make sure you're listening, make sure you're asking them questions about themselves, not about the money, about themselves. People love talking about that. And we suddenly got a whole lot of people wanting to discuss their medical aid, because we all know that's become a massive expense in everyone's lives. And I mean, we also know we make absolutely no money, helping people with their medical aid. However, if you can help them there and use that as an opportunity, as an example, use that as an opportunity to really care about people and their families, people will remember that. People will remember how you make them feel. I know we've all read that and heard that, but it is absolutely true. And that's probably, I believe, the quickest way to getting referrals and to turn clients from being perhaps interested parties to eventually becoming clients. Okay, we've got another client we're working with who's got a lot of money, selling his business. We're going to get part of it. I'm not worried about that, because I know that over time, and our time is like the rest of his life, the rest of Client Care's life, which will be past my life. If he becomes, we will eventually get to work with all of that client's money. And that might sound dirty. It's not, because what it means is we get into work with all of that client's life. Okay. And the reason that's going to happen is because no one else is going to care about that client as much as we do. So I think I've made the point here, but the whole thing is just really try and be as authentic as you can. And when you think stuff is not happening, it's happening. Like, keep hammering it away. We've chosen certain sources where we put out articles or whatever, and express things that are good and bad about the industry. Don't just be a puppy. Don't just agree with everything. And things that you feel strongly about personally, share that, because people like people to have an opinion. People don't just want to follow sheep. So yeah, I think that was mainly what I want to do, share. But the biggest thing is show that you care and do the work. If there's no activity, if you don't actively, as Ryan says, have something in your diary and you put time aside where you prospect in, however you do it. Prospects is dirty, but if you're not going to do that, you're not going to get any clients. So, yeah. Okay, guys, we've got 5 minutes left. Anyone else have anything that they'd like to share? And let me open it up to, this is our last session of the year. So obviously we will start next year again. But any comments that anyone has around, some of you are new, some of you have been around a bit longer. And also, I mean, this group, this is for you guys as well. It's for all of us, including me, because we're all learning. But anything that you feel we could maybe consider looking at next year.
Dirk, I think I'd be very interested if Peter would be comfortable just to hear about his experience and interactions using social media. I'm definitely a fan of his channel. I think he's produced really great content, and yeah, keen to learn from that in that space, how it's been benefiting him as well.
Okay, great. Thanks. I'm sure Peter will be happy to do that with us. Anybody else?
I know we've chatted about fees many times, but I'm really curious on how to get clients into that space of being willing to pay fee-based as well for consultations, because I still feel like a large part of my diary is occupied by people that get a lot of free help, and maybe just a way of how to transition into that and actually how to make it sustainable / scalable. I recall, I think it was, his name was Frank. Yeah, Frank. Frank said he was doing quite a bit of that. So maybe just how to actually implement that practically and not just have it in place, you know?
Yeah, okay. The feed discussion is one that will never go away. But I think that's a good approach, because I think what we want to do is we don't want to have a fee debate about which is right and which is wrong, because I think we will just got to agree that if clients are prepared to pay a fee, that's it, however you charge. But I think the point you're making is where do we position ourselves with how we charge. So I think it's about probably about your value proposition and how you position yourself and how you position your offering so that you are not taken advantage of, and at the same time you're adding value. So yeah, we can look at how we do that. Thanks, Dylan. Okay, guys. Thanks very much. Yeah, I think it's been a pretty good year. Thanks for everyone who's joined, and thank you for especially those people who've participated and shared a lot of personal stuff, a lot of their experiences. Yeah, I can't quite believe how this group has grown. I started it, geez, what was it, almost 5.5 years ago with Alex, Simon, Russell in our boardroom. I think this is a good thing that's come out of COVID, so it's fantastic. So I think, yeah, I mean, I think I'm happy that the group continues to grow. You know, my personal thing is just to make the profession a better place so we can help more people. You know, we can't see everyone ourselves, so the more people we can help in their professions, in their businesses, get better at what they do, then the more the public we are helping out there. And I think we've got a huge cross section in this group between age, the markets we work in, and everything which I think is really healthy. So I think let's next year continue to grow. Again, I'm going to think about how we get more structure to this, and an hour and a half seems like a long time, but I think we can prove that we can eat that up really quickly when we're talking about valuable stuff. So also, if you guys can just think about things that you believe are important, yeah, and anyone that you believe would benefit from this, we happy that they join. Again, the rule of miss 3 months, you get booted. It's not a mean boot. It's just to keep the group fresh and clean. You know, we might go through a stage where you're too busy or there's something going on in your life, and then we can always rejoin. So it's just so that we keep the group full of people who are wanting to contribute and not necessarily just take.
Dirk,
Okay,
just
guys.
quickly on behalf of the whole groups, seeing as though it is the last session of the year, just a massive thank you for organizing and facilitating the group. Obviously, it's grown massively, and for even I think every single one of us, when we see the topic that pops up for the week, you can't even imagine how many nuggets of wisdom come up in this group, even just sharing and hearing the stories and realizing that people are, regardless of where they are in their career, are going through similar things or learning from other people's stuff. So a huge thank you for leading the charge and just presenting every week. I think everyone can agree this is a massive value add. So thanks for that, and thanks for doing it consistently. Appreciate it.
No problem, guys. Not at all. Have a lucky December, Christmas, and or just festive period. And we've got to be politically correct, guys. And we'll see you all in the new year, if not before.
Thanks, everyone. Go
Thanks,
well,
Dirk.
eh?
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks,
Go
guys.
well.
Thanks very
Thanks,
much,
guys. All the best. Thanks, Dirk.
Thank you,
Bye,
Dirk.
everyone. Bye.